What if an Alzheimer's diagnosis wasn't a one-way street? What if the brain, even when facing the worst possible genetic hand, could not only stop falling apart, but actually start to rebuild itself? Today, we're going to look at a case that pretty much challenges everything we thought we knew.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. The big question is, can the brain truly heal from Alzheimer's? And I'm not just talking about slowing it down. I mean, can we reverse the damage? Especially for people with APOE4/E4 gene, which, can crank up their risk for the disease by a staggering 15 times. All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at what a diagnosis usually means. Then we'll see an incredible turnaround. After that, we're going to unpack the science, how to spark new growth, and how to give the brain the right fuel and defense to make it all happen. Let's get into it.
Okay, Section 1, an unwinnable fight? For so many people, this is exactly what it feels like. This is where the story begins, with the devastating challenge of an Alzheimer's diagnosis. So let's meet the person at the center of this story. He's a 66-year-old manager, and things had started to go wrong. His memory was getting worse, his reaction times were slowing down, all those classic, terrifying signs were there. This is the real human side of the disease we're talking about. And when the doctors looked closer, the diagnosis was clear. Genetically, he had that APOE epsilon-4/epsilon-4 double whammy, the highest risk you can have. And the physical evidence was right there on the scans. His hippocampus, which is basically the brain's memory command center, was actually shrinking. And on top of all that, his brain's electrical signals were a total mess, just chaotic and disorganized. And this right here, this is the before picture. On the left, you can see that shrinking hippocampus. And on the right, those red lines, that's his brain activity. It's all over the place, totally erratic. Think of it like a radio full of static. This is the starting line. But that starting line, well, it was about to get completely redrawn. And that brings us to Section 2, the brain that healed. Honestly, what you're about to see is an astonishing reversal that just seems to fly in the face of everything we expect from this disease. So the first piece of evidence, his mind started working better, a lot better. Just look at this graph. His verbal memory score started down at 75, which is considered impaired. But after the treatment, it didn't just get a little better, it skyrocketed to 115. Folks, that's not just an improvement. That's a jump from impaired to above average. That is absolutely life-changing. And this, well, this is the picture that might just change everything. On the left, you see the brain before treatment, with that shrunken hippocampus. But look at the images on the right. That's after treatment. You can see it clear as day. There's actual, visible regrowth. The brain's memory center physically got bigger. This is the kind of evidence that just forces you to stop and rethink what's even possible. So the brain didn't just rebuild the hardware, it got the software running properly again too. Remember that radio static we talked about? The red lines on the left show that chaos. But now look at the black lines on the right, the after picture. The signal is strong, it's organized, it's in sync. The new brain circuits weren't just there, they were working together, firing correctly. The static was gone. So the million-dollar question is, how on earth did this happen? Well, that takes us to Section 3, sparking new growth. We're going to look at how these tiny molecules called cytokines can actually tell the brain to repair itself. The magic word here is neurogenesis. It literally just means the birth of new neurons. And the really cool thing is, this treatment wasn't about putting something foreign into the brain. The whole goal was to wake up the brain's own dormant stem cells, its internal repair crew, and just give them the signal to get to work and start rebuilding. So how do you send that signal? With something called a cytokine cocktail. Think of cytokines as the tiny project managers or the foremen on a massive construction site, which is your body. In this case, this specific mix of molecules sent out very specific orders. Hey, repair this damage over here, reduce the inflammation, and most importantly, start growing new neurons now. So what exactly did this construction crew rebuild? Well, it seems a huge part of it was regenerating a specific type of neuron, the kind that makes GABA. See, in an Alzheimer's brain, things are often hyper-excitable. It's like a car engine that's stuck revving in the red. GABA is the brain's main braking system. So by rebuilding these GABA neurons, the treatment basically fixed the brakes, calming all that electrical chaos we saw earlier.
But look, you can't just rebuild a high-performance engine and then pour bad gas into it. You've got to give it the right fuel, and you've got to beef up its defenses. And that brings us to Section 4, Fuel and Defense, and just how critical diet was to this whole thing. Okay, so our brains usually run on glucose. But one of the biggest problems in Alzheimer's is that the brain cells have trouble using glucose for energy. It's like there's a fuel crisis, and the cells are starving. This is where the ketogenic diet comes in. It helps the body create ketones, which are like a super efficient backup generator for the brain. The brain can use ketones for fuel easily, completely bypassing that broken glucose system.
The second part of this is defense. This chart here shows how the patient's immune system was reacting to different foods, and as you can see, it was really fighting dairy proteins. That kind of constant fight creates inflammation, and it can even poke holes in the blood-brain barrier, the protective wall around the brain. But look what happened when he cut those foods out. The lines on the chart drop way down. The fight stopped, the inflammation calmed down, and that helped strengthen the brain's defenses.
So let's recap. We have a treatment that sparks new growth, a diet that provides clean fuel, and a strategy to calm things down and strengthen the defenses. Let's put it all together in our final section, a new path forward. This diagram really says it all. For decades, researchers have been searching for a single magic bullet to cure Alzheimer's. But what this case suggests is that maybe the answer isn't a magic bullet. Maybe it's a coordinated, multi-front attack. The cytokines promote growth. The keto diet handles the energy crisis. The elimination diet fixes the defenses. You're hitting the disease from all sides at once.
And I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that's amazing, but it's just one person. Well, here's the thing, it's not. Since 2018, this clinic has used this same approach on more than 20 other patients who all have that same high-risk gene. This isn't just a one-off fluke. It suggests this could be a real, repeatable strategy.
And at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. It's not just about brain scans or test scores, it's about people. The researchers told a story of another patient who was on this therapy for 6 years. And this quote, well, it says everything. She died of old age, not dementia, surrounded by her family with dignity. And that leaves us with a huge question. Are we finally on the edge of turning Alzheimer's from a death sentence into something manageable, maybe even reversible?